Hey guys, today I wanted to talk about the Bakeneko60 from CannonKeys. I've been using this board a little over a month now and I've really had a good time with it, so I just wanted to give some of my thoughts. So just a little bit about the board. It's $130 in stock from CannonKeys and it uses an O-ring gasket mounting system and it comes in a few different colors. Something I just want to note as well is that I have the black version and it is painted. Some of the future colors of the Bakeneko are going to be powder coated instead of painted, so that might affect some of the final finishing. And on the CannonKeys website, they do provide some documentation for a build guide as well as quality control expectations, since it is painted and soon to be powder coated as opposed to being anodized. So when you get the board and you get the kit, it comes with the keyboard itself, of course. You get cherry clip-in stabs, which is important to note. You cannot use screw-in stabs with this. It screws with the mounting system. You're forced to get a hot swap PCB. You get a daughter board and JST cable, and it comes with an FR4 plate. So it's a little bit unfortunate that you don't get the option for a solderable PCB in the kit, but you can buy it as an add-on for 40 bucks. So it's alright. I just wish you had the option to select solderable. It comes with the O-ring, of course, for mounting and some bump-on feet. And something I really liked is that it came with a microfiber cloth inside of a hard case. So it's nice that it has the hard case. It's easy to transport around. I just toss it in the hard case, toss the hard case in my backpack, and I bring it to work every so often. So a little bit about the PCB too. It's VIA compatible. So if it's your first 60% and you're a little bit worried about losing those arrow keys and some of those other keys for like a TKL and a full size, you don't have to worry about it. You can just customize that in with some layers and really make it a custom keyboard, So I think it's fun to screw around with and you don't lose any functionality. And I gotta say that at a price point of 130 bucks for that entire kit that I just mentioned, and for how non-complex the building experience is, this is a very beginner-friendly board. First, you just install the daughter board into the case itself. Then after you install your switches into the plate and the PCB, all you have to do is put the rubber O-ring around the plate, and then you carefully install the JST connector from the daughter board into the main PCB, and then you carefully just press everything straight down into the case. There's no screws in this build, so it makes assembly and disassembly nice, clean, and easy, and you don't have to worry about any stripped Phillips head screws or anything of the sort. Just to go down a list of some of the pros that I have about the keyboard too. It has a center positioned USB-C port, which is nice and flush with the case actually. And it's easy to plug in, without looking or feeling around too much behind the case. But since we have that daughter board and it's separate from the rest of the PCB, it's fixed in place. You don't need to have any room. Like in my first keyboard review with the FIEL, I talked about there was this big gaping hole of USB cutout in the case itself. So the case does, or the PCB inside the case did move around like a little bit, but definitely not enough to warrant that big of a cutout. But in the Bakeneko, you don't have to worry about anything moving because that's just the daughter board. The JST connector connects everything, so you don't have to worry about the PCB flexing and messing with the connector going outside the case. And I gotta say the typing experience has a pleasant bounce to it, and it's kind of unique from any other board I've tried so far, just being in my kind of beginner space. I've really only had like the FIEL and then the Wolmier K87, which is just like an acrylic case. It's just basic whatever, so it was really enjoyable to try something different like this for me. And I like the sound too, so the sound and the feel were both really nice. And I think that's partially, it's entirely to contribute to the mounting style and the FR4 plate. So I personally really like it and I've been enjoying it. But I will say that there is some resonance when you press certain keys, such as backspace is a prime offender that usually has some bad, case ping. And I've really just been using a whole bunch of linears in this over the past 5-6-ish weeks. And I haven't been disappointed by any of them yet. So a few of the linears that I've been trying are some lubed and filmed Cherry MX Black Hyperglides, the SP Star Nanas, which are my favorite switch, the SP Star Sacramentos, which are also up there. The new Gateron X switches are very nice. And some lubed and filmed H1 switches. And the H1s were pretty high pitched, and I enjoyed that in this board. Some of the cons that I have for this board was, like I said, a bit of the case resonance, especially in, backspace. If you really wanted, you could probably just stick some foam in there and fix it, or just embrace the sound of the board. It's whatever. I don't feel like putting foam in here. I'm just gonna let it be. And another con, I guess, is that the quality control is pretty loose with, what's acceptable as a blemish and a mark, and, even some asymmetrical or uneven edges. But I do understand this is to keep the price, as low as it is. So I'm alright with it. And I'm kind of curious if the newer powder coated versions will see less blemishes than the painted version like I have. And I guess another, con to list is that the hot swap PCB is restricted to basic bitch bottom row. So you don't have that Sengen bottom row, which I would have preferred to use. I don't need that many keys, and I would have liked to use the 7U spacebar. With the FR4 plate being universal, I would have liked to see that, since, you have the option, the layout is there. I just needed the option for the solderable PCB at checkout. But that's about all I got for, negatives. And just a couple things to note as well is that you're supposed to use the PCB mounted clip-in stabs and not screw-in stabs, because the screw-in stabs will interfere with the O-ring and your board won't be able to mount properly. So you got to keep that in mind if you plan on using your own stabilizers and not the ones that come with it. But the cherry clip-ins that come with this are perfectly fine, so I don't see why you wouldn't use them. And then the other thing is, if you're going to remove switches and change anything while this thing is in the case, just be careful while you're doing it, especially around the edges. If you remove a switch that's on the edge, then the O-ring is going to collapse into the plate, and go underneath. And you're going to have to take the whole thing out anyway to remove the O-ring before you can put a switch back in. So that's just something important to note, since I was swapping out switches a whole bunch. But that's about all I got for this board. I really enjoy it, and I highly recommend it if anyone's looking to get kind of a little bit more into the hobby and upgrade from, whatever mechanical keyboard they started out with. But following this, I'm just going to do a typing test with the board, and it might not be the most enjoyable thing. I'm breaking in some Cherry MX Black Hyperglides right now, so I have spring swapped them, but they are completely unlubed. So stick around for that, and just like and subscribe if you want to see some more, reviews like this one. I plan on doing some Switch reviews at some point in the near future too. I have quite a few that I want to go over. Some of the ones that I listed are definitely on my list. But yeah, that's about all I got. So, peace.